Welcome to the Rebirthing Breathwork Summit, a free online event where you'll learn to integrate the power of conscious energy breathing to transform your mind, body, and spirit. Share this online event with your friends and family and join the conversation inside our Facebook group, Rebirthing Breathwork Summit. And now your host, Devendra Narayan.
Welcome everyone to another session in the Global Rebirthing Breathwork Summit. This session is called The Power of Tantric Arts in Rebirthing Breathwork. Our speaker is Chandra Andrea Polyak. Born in Hungary, Chandra first came across breathwork in the year 2000. In 2010, she moved to Thailand to join a Tantric yoga community where she studied and practiced sacred and unique teachings in the field of yoga, tantra, rituals, and mysticism. Chandra trained under the guidance of Leonard Orr in 2011 and 13. Her experiences with rebirthing breathwork were so profound and empowering that she began introducing rebirthing breathwork to the yoga community in Thailand and developed a 6-week-long personal development program specialized in inner child healing. Since 2015, she has been running trainings and courses, empowering a global audience with yoga, tantra, and rebirthing breathwork. Her dedication to the traditional tantric practices led her to participate in a 7-year-long training in India to learn the mysticism of mantras and fire practices. Welcome, Chandra.
Thank you so much, Devendra. I am really excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity and your dedication to organize this summit.
Glad to have you, Chandra, on the summit. So, Chandra, I, as you know, grew up in India. And I'd say my first introduction to Tantra and Tantrics came from the Bollywood movies. You know, many in the West would also remember the character of Mola Ram in one of the Indiana Jones movies. And there was so much misinformation then, and I'd say still now, about Tantra. So why don't we start by you sharing with our summit audience what Tantra really is?
Yes, thank you for the question. And I agree with you. There is so much misunderstanding about Tantra. I think that if somebody in the West hears the word Tantra, they think almost immediately about sex, about some kind of sexual practices. And in reality, Tantra, I think, is a big container of spiritual tools, incorporating yogic practices such as asana practices and pranayama, breathwork practices, also using rituals, fire ceremonies, meditation practices, visualization for basically for deconditioning mind, body, and soul. And coming back to a centered clarity, aliveness, nurturing and owning our organic and natural essence. Tantra is, I would call it a science. Tantra is a science, teaches us how to embrace all life, how to embrace the polarity of life, both negative and positive, and the light and the darkness, and all of our emotions and spirituality, but at the same time also teaches us how to embrace the body, how to come into this body, because the non-tantric practices have the tendency to deny the body, saying that spirituality, enlightenment is the goal of spiritual practices, and the desires and the needs of the body are preventing or blocking us from this spiritual development. And in these practices, the practitioners neglect, deny the body. In the tantric practices, we nurture, we incorporate the body. That's why sexuality is also part of the tantric practices. Part of sexuality is just part of the tantric practices, not the main practice of this spiritual tool. Yeah.
Thank you for the introduction, Chandra. So as I learned through my yoga studies is, and you also defined that Tantra is a ancient yet advanced science that embraces the body using certain practices, certain tools to elevate our energies. Could you talk a little bit more about the specific tools? I know there are terms in yoga that we use. We talk about mantras, we talk about yantras, and then we talk about tantra. Would you take some time in putting how these sacred practices are embraced and combined in the tantric rituals to align our body, our mind, and our spirit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, so as you mentioned, we use several different practices in the tantric tradition, and the practice with the mantras is one of I think the most magical practices because the mantras are actually like magical words created in Sanskrit. And magical, I'm saying magical because each little word has a certain vibration. And because the word is created in Sanskrit, which is apparently the oldest language on the planet, very few of us understand the meaning of that Sanskrit word. Still, our soul, has a connection to the mantra without even a mental or intellectual understanding of the word. And through repetition of a certain mantra, we activate the energy of the mantra inside of our bodies. And through this activation of the energy, we will vibrate, we will emit that energy, the energy of the mantra. And based upon the law of the attraction, what we resonate, what we emit, this is what we attract. So through the repetition of the mantra, if I am create this vibration of abundance in my body, in my energy field, then emitting the frequency of abundance will help me to create actually the manifest abundance in my life. Yeah, and we could say that there is a mantra for everything. Like basically, I could use mantra for creating abundance, but also attracting a life partner, or healing myself from certain diseases, or I could use mantra for creating safety and protection while I travel into a new country, or I could use mantra before entering into a workshop, before starting teaching my audience in a workshop, to empower myself to be a confident teacher. So basically there is mantra for everything, to help myself again, just coming into a greater alignment with my highest vision. And there is another practice, what you mentioned, practicing with the yantras. Yantras are geometrical forms of the mantras. Like I could say that, for example, if I want to, as I said, create abundance, I practice a certain mantra, but that mantra also is connected to a certain feminine energy goddess in the tantric tradition, and that is Lakshmi. And that feminine goddess has a certain yantra, geometrical form, representation of that goddess. So I also could connect to the abundance through meditating on the yantra. Yeah.
Yeah, Chandra, you bring up a very important point about the feminine aspect in the tantric practices. I know Shakti is so beloved, the divine mother, the divine energy. So are these practices mostly for women? Can men do these practices? And what kind of benefits can men see by embracing some of these tantric practices?
Very interesting question. Thank you for bringing up the topic of the tantric goddesses. The tantric practices are actually practices of cultivating the feminine energy, worshipping the feminine. And in the tantric tradition, the feminine is divided into 10 different archetypes. We call them great cosmic powers. The 10 different archetypes of the one great feminine. Probably the most popular of these 10 goddesses are Kali and Tara and Tripura Sundari. Kali is the representation of transformation and time. She is the black goddess standing, holding one head in one of her hands, a chopped head. Or Tara, the other goddess is Tara of the goddess of the wisdom and knowledge and the guru of the teachers. So the tantrics, through worshipping the different archetypes of the goddess, again connect to these energies within themselves. Because the tantric tradition says that everything we see outside is can be found inside, and everything is within us, within the body, is can be also experienced outside. So when we are talking about Kali or the goddesses as representation of the feminine, we are not talking about somebody different from us or outside of us. We all have this power of transformation. We all have the energy or the power of wisdom and knowledge. Yeah. So therefore, I think both men and women can benefit from practicing with these goddesses. And the practices means that we can meditate on these energies. We can, for example, do some ritualistic dance, connecting to these goddesses. Or we can do visualization on the different yantras of the goddesses.
And when you talked about the fierce avatar of Kali, I could imagine that figure, which is really fierce for some people. You know, mention about holding her head in one hand. She's standing on Shiva with her tongue sticking out. And that fierce form, there's a representation, there's a higher meaning to it. It's just not to scare people. There's divinity in that, what we call the Rudra avatar, which is like the fierce form of Kali. Could you talk us a little bit, people who are not aware, maybe a little hesitant about tantric practices, just looking at that pictures, those deities in mind, what do they symbolize? There's much deeper understanding and meaning of what Kali represents. Maybe if you could talk a little bit for a few minutes about that.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean talking specifically about Kali, or what these goddesses represent?
Forgot to unmute myself there. Let's specifically, if you can speak about, speak about Kali, because we are in this age, right? We call this the Kali Yuga, the Kali Yuga. So if you can talk about Kali for a little bit, and the symbolic representation of the avatar of Kali, and what is the deeper meaning behind the worship of Kali?
Yeah. So Kali is the first one of the Tantric goddesses, and she is the power of transformation and time. Kali has this energy, or Kali is the representation of this energy, which is able to transform the darkness into light, able to help us to move beyond the ego. Ego meaning that conditioning and believing in separation and fear and judgment and criticism and lack of belief or lack of self-love. Like is able to help us to grow beyond just limitation where we think that we are small and little and worthless and not lovable and powerless, and she can help us to connect, to connect within ourselves to something which is bigger and greater than these fears and these limitations. And we also could say that Kali is actually sacrificing herself for us, or helping us help through this transformation. So maybe Kali is depicted as fearful, as you said, because standing on a corpse of Shiva, having her tongue out, but actually she is acting out of love. So she is sacrificing herself, coming to us, helping us to move through the darkness, and that is actually a sacrifice for her. And she is doing it out of love, because we are her children. Everybody on this planet is her child. So her mission, or her role, actually, I think this is best to say, her role in this divine play is helping us to move away from the darkness. And as for the history, there was a powerful demon who couldn't be killed, because every time a warrior cut his head, then three other heads grew out of the head, and every time a drop of blood touched the earth, a new demon grew out of that drop of blood. And the gods didn't know, as the story says, the gods didn't have the power to conquer this god, and the three gods, Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, sat together, and they sent Kali, the goddess, to the earth to deal with the demon. And Kali was just so powerful that when she cut the head of the demon, she licked the blood, before dropping, allowing it dropping down to the earth. She licked the blood, and this is how she was able to defeat the demon.
Tells a lot about the power in the feminine in that story. That even the male deities, the Trinity as it's called in India, they had to go to the feminine, to the divine mother, to the energy, to even save themselves, right? Because that's the story behind it. Otherwise, they were in danger. So that's really powerful. And what I want to come back to is something you said during that question is the transformation that happens from darkness to light. And many times, now coming back to the rebirthing breathwork or many other lineages that have come after rebirthing breathwork, many times you do get those experiences. You do get those experiences of going to a very deep and dark place and doing that journey, going through that, the rebirthing experiences before you come on the other side with the light. So talk to us about the, when you say the power of tantric arts in rebirthing breathwork. What are these powers that you're referring to?
Okay, thank you very much. So as you mentioned in the beginning, I moved to a tantric yoga community in 2010, and I spent a decade actually living in the tantric community. And I introduced rebirthing breathwork to this community first through one-on-one sessions, and then through workshops, and then later through trainings. And what I experienced was that the participants of this tantric yogis, participants of this tantric yogic community, they had a very strong yoga practice. They meditated and they practiced yoga every day, like seriously every day for several hours. At the same time, they didn't really know how to deal with their emotions because the yogic tradition teaches to sit, to sit and focus and not so much. Doesn't give too much attention to fear. To feel your emotions, but it's working more. The focus is more on mastering your mind. A thought is coming, you just observe it and let it go. So that is mostly the practice. It's not about feeling your anger or feeling your sadness and dealing with it. So for these yogis, rebirthing breathwork was interesting, but also a little bit challenging. Because with the breathwork, we just enter into a space beyond control. So you are entering into space of, we call it expanded state of consciousness, but is also a space where you are already also forced to let go of the control because the breath is just overtaking you, it's just overpowering you, and in that space you are forced to feel. You have to feel what you said, darkness. You have to feel what you suppressed back into the body. So what I experienced is that the tantric practices, the tantric arts can smooth, can smooth a little bit this heaviness of the transformation of the suppressed histories and emotions, and also can quicken, can speed up the transformation, because through the magic of the tantra, through the, for example, the magic of this mantra practices, the transformation is really accelerated. Like when we meditate with mantra, especially, for example, integrated with fire practices, then a transformation which would take with rebirthing breathwork like 3 to 4 days, can take place in seriously within a couple of hours. And there are also rituals. Rituals are also part of the tantric practices, and through rituals we can create a space of mysticism and magic, which is which is again is just making the whole process of transformation uplifted and sacred and magical, and also a little bit more interesting. Yeah, so that's why I a little bit more playful. Yeah, like a playful transformation instead of this dark, heavy transformation.
And I've been told by some of the participants, some of the speakers on our summit about the importance of fire in the rebirthing movement. And fire is one of the key elements, one of the 5 elements. It has cleansing quality. And now you are an expert in this. Speak to us how you use fire for your ceremonies for cleansing. And are there any simple things that people can do to, even if they're not familiar with Tantra and some of the mantra, yantra practices, are there subtle, simple things that will make profound impact in people's life by the cleansing power of the fire?
Yeah. Yes, there are simpler practices anybody could do without specific training or knowledge about the fire practices. Lighting a candle, for example, or a few candles, and sitting next to the candle, or meditating on the candle, or having it next to your head when you are sleeping could be one of those practices, or making a campfire in your backyard and sitting next to it, again meditating, or just reading next to, like spending time next to the fire, can be beneficial. The more traditional approach of the fire is more like holding a ritualistic ceremony where we use again mantras, and we chant certain mantras while we are meditating on the fire. It takes initiation practice to be introduced into the magic of the fire. This is the 7-year-long training you mentioned in the beginning. I participated in with an Indian Tantric master who keep teaching me how to use mantras and the fire for purification. As you said, fire is an important part of the of the rebirthing, because when we sit next to the fire or meditate next to the fire close enough that the flames and the energy of the fire can touch our aura, a transformation takes place. You know, like if you put an object, a certain object, a piece of wood into the fire has the power to transform that wood into ashes. Yeah. So in this way, the fire has the power to transform negative thoughts, toxic, stuck energy in our bodies into something more clear and cleared and uplifted. That's why we are actually using the fire to utilize this transformational power for growth, for spiritual growth, because I'm sure you know that everything in this universe is built up from the 4 main elements, from the earth, the water, the fire, and the earth. Including our bodies, yeah. So our body is also built up from these 4 basic elements. So if we worship the different elements outside of the body, we worship the fire, for example, outside of the body. That worship will also nurture the fire, the transformational power inside of our bodies.
So you said 4, but there are 5. You meant 5, right? All the 5 elements, including the air as well.
Ether then, no?
Okay.
I meant, yeah. So yeah, I think Yeah, like the Taoist tradition talks about 5, but the Western tradition mostly about 4 elements. Yeah.
That was beautifully explained. Thank you, Chandra. So we're very interested in learning more about a simple practice, and especially if you could lead us into a practice that will integrate breath. And then if there is a mantra that simple enough that people can just listen to, even as you lead them, they don't have to by heart learn it. If you can integrate the two, whatever feels good to you, we would really love for you to lead us into a simple practice.
Yes, thank you. I would like to lead you through a breathwork practice integrated with movement. And I am more than happy to send a mantra practice to your audience, but there is not such a practice where I could use breathwork and mantra together, but breathwork and movement together.
Oh, I love that. I would love
Yeah.
to move. I've been standing here for hours now, so I'd love
Okay,
to
very
move.
nice. Very nice. So then first I give a short explanation and then we do it together. So standing is the perfect starting position. I will invite you to stand with your feet parallel and hip distance apart. And during this breathwork practice, we will breathe into the 3 power centers. First power center is the pelvic area. Yeah, pelvic area. That is, we could also say, that is the center, life force center. Yeah, life force center in the pelvic floor. And the second power center is the heart in the chest area, and the third is the mind. Yeah, here around the forehead. We will breathe for a few minutes into the pelvic center. Then we will shift our focus and breathe into the heart center, and then breathing into the mind, and then from the mind going back to the heart and back to the first power center. When we inhale, we move our body forward, and we exhale, then backward. Yeah. And if you want it, you also can have your hands, your arms next to the power center you are breathing in, and kind of inviting the air into the center. Yeah. You will breathe in and out through the mouth, keeping the mouth open, relaxed, and keeping the breath connected. Yeah, and then we will shift to the mind, and we also can move the hands, inviting the breath into the body. We will do this practice with closed eyes, focusing on the power center we breathe into. Yeah.
So one question, Chandra, when you are inhaling, you are extending forward, and then when you're exhaling, you are retracting back.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And then, very good question. When you are inhaling, you are extending forward. And you will find your own rhythm. Yeah, you will have your own rhythm, and you will find your own way harmonizing your breath with the physical movement. Okay, so then let us begin. So we are standing with the feet parallel, hip distance apart, the knees can be slightly bent. And I invite you to gently close your eyes. And just take a few deep breaths. Inhale through the mouth, exhale through the mouth. And for now, just focus on the flow of your breath, placing your awareness on the flow of the breath. Placing the awareness on the breath can help you to connect to your body and to arrive into the present moment, because your body and your breath exist in the present moment. So when you focus on the breath, your mind is also in the present moment. Very nice. And keeping your eyes closed, we will start the breathwork practice by breathing in through the first power center into your pelvic and breathing out from the pelvic. As you inhale, you arch a little bit forward, or you move your hips a little bit forward, and as you exhale, you relax backwards. Yeah. If you want it, you can have your hands next to your pelvis. Breathe in through the mouth and out through the mouth. Breathe into your pelvic area and out from the pelvic area. Keeping the breath connected. Finding harmony and finding a connection between the breath and the physical movement itself. Really feeling and thinking and maybe even visualizing that you are breathing into your power center in the pelvic area. You are bringing in aliveness into this power center. You are connecting to the consciousness of this power center, to the emotions and feelings and desires of this power center. The pelvis is relaxed. And now we are moving both our focus and our hands to the level of the heart, at the level of the chest, and we are breathing in and out into the heart center, out from the heart center. Bringing awareness and life and breath into this center. Feeling, thinking, and visualizing that you are connecting to your heart. Acknowledging and feeling the desires of your heart. We are connecting to empathy and kindness and softness. to love, unconditional love. One more deep breath in and relax breath out. And we are shifting our focus and hand to the level of the mind. And we continue breathing in and out through the mouth. Thinking, feeling, and visualizing that we are breathing into the mind. We are connecting to the qualities of the mind. Focus and analysis and comparison and understanding. We are appreciating these qualities within ourselves. The breath is deep and relaxed. And one more deep inhale and relaxed exhale. We are coming back to the heart center. Connecting to the clarity of the mind to the desires of the heart. Clarity and analysis to empathy and acceptance. And we are moving down to the pelvic area, connecting the heart and the mind to the desires of this power center. Bringing reasoning and acceptance to creativity, sexual impulses, to the life force energy. And one more breath in and out. And keeping your eyes closed, slowly come to stillness. Taking just 1 minute to acknowledge and feel the sensations you created with this practice inside of your body. And then gently open your eyes.
That was so great. Thank you for leading us. I really liked how you moved from the lower energy centers to the higher and then higher back to the lower and connecting the powers of the each center and integrating them into the others. Thank you so much. One question I have is, does somebody have to breathe through the mouth? Can this be done breathing through the nose?
Yes, this also could be done through the nose. Yeah, my experience with the breathwork itself is that breathing through the mouth has more potential to activate suppressed memories and energies in general and emotions in the body. And the nose breathing is more of a practice for integrating the experience. And I also understand that different breathwork teachers have a different practice. I met myself breathwork teachers who recommend breathing only and only through the nose, and others only through the mouth. I like to combine the two. I use mouth breathing more for emotional release and transformation, and nose breathing more for meditative practices and integrating the emotional release.
Chandra, Andrea, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us. If our global audience wants to know more about you and your training, where can they find your work?
Yes, thank you so much, Devandra, having me here. I host online trainings. Unfortunately, because of the COVID virus situation, I had to move my live trainings and retreats for online. Unfortunately, at the same time, having all of the trainings online, I can reach a wider audience. So I have a 5 weeks long personal development training, which is a training designed to free up ourselves from limiting beliefs. And I am specialized in inner child healing, and I designed a 3 months long online program healing the history of our childhood, starting at conception. Truly transformational. And I also host facilitator trainings online. I have a website where all the programs are listed. I also offer free discovery call sessions before anybody signs up for my training to have a chat about the intention of the person and just to feel if we really fit for this intimate work. I would say intimate because personal development is such an intimate topic.
Chandra, what's a website called? Would you like to tell that to our audience?
Yeah, my website is Tantric, Rebirthing Breathwork.
Chandra, Andrea, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much, Devandra.
Thank you for joining the Rebirthing Breathwork Summit, brought to you by Cultivate Prana. To learn more, visit cultivateprana.com or rebirthingbreathworksummit.com.